The Web of Lies. In the luxurious mansions on the coast of Los Angeles, life seemed perfect. High ceilings, panoramic windows, ocean views, everything spoke of wealth and success. But behind this facade hid secrets that could destroy everything in an instant. Marilyn is a 50-year-old woman who dedicated her entire life to her family. Her face was smooth, her eyes full of care and love. She gave everything to ensure her husband Jack, a successful 55-year-old businessman, felt loved and protected. She cared for the children, supported her husband through his numerous problems, sacrificing her personal time and dreams. Their home was always in harmony, or at least that's what it seemed from the outside. Marilyn remembered every minute of their life together. She remembered the first time he took her hand, how they dreamed about the future, about children, about a house. She remembered how he was her support during difficult times when his business was on the brink of collapse and their family was on the verge of breaking apart. But everything changed in one day. One evening, when the house was quiet and the children were already asleep, Marilyn noticed her husband's strange behaviour. He returned late, often went on meetings she knew nothing about. In recent weeks, his gaze had become more tense, and there was some hidden anxiety in his voice. She was sitting in the living room, going through old letters and documents, when she heard Jack quietly enter the house. He was a little nervous. His face looked more tired than usual. He quickly passed by, not noticing her watching him. "You're late today," Marilyn said softly as he sat on the sofa. Jack sighed and tried to smile. "Work," he replied briefly. "Things happen." She felt that something was wrong. A new, hidden anxiety flickered in his eyes, something she hadn't seen before. She decided to check his phone, unconsciously, out of instinct, to understand what was happening. When he went to another room, Marilyn quietly approached his desk and took his phone. Inside, she noticed several messages he had blocked. Carefully, she unblocked them and read, short, mysterious phrases, names and numbers that meant nothing to her. But the most striking was one message received recently. "Meeting at the cafe on 7th Street. Don't be late. Laura." Marilyn felt her heart beat faster. The name, Laura. Who is she? And why had Jack been going out so often lately? Why was his phone full of hidden messages? She remembered how she recently noticed his gaze had become more nervous, and there was something hidden in his behaviour. He started going out more often to meetings she didn't know about. And now, this message, clearly related to someone named Laura. Marilyn closed the phone and quietly left the room, feeling her insides tighten with anxiety. She understood she had to find out what was happening, and although her heart told her it could be something very serious, she decided not to show it, at least until she was sure. But deep inside, she already felt Jack had some secret. In the following days, her doubts tormented her. Something was off, and her heart urged her to act. She remembered all the small details, his strange trips, nervous glances, hidden messages. All of this formed a picture. He was hiding something. But she needed proof to believe in herself and the world. Marilyn decided to act on her own. She quietly sneaked into Jack's office. She knew he often went there late to meet Laura, and today she decided to check everything herself. It was dark inside. Only a faint light from a lamp illuminated the desk, where folders, documents, and a laptop lay. She entered carefully, trying not to make noise. Her eyes immediately fell on the laptop. It was open, and the latest messages flickered on the screen. Marilyn quickly browsed the correspondence, and her heart clenched. There were words that confirmed her worst fears. "Everything will be ready tomorrow morning. We'll leave together, and no one will find us," one message read. she saw another message that was sent recently. "I've prepared everything. Money, documents, tickets, all according to plan. Don't worry. I love you." Marilyn felt her blood drain from her face. This was not just a conversation about a meeting or casual correspondence. It was a clear escape plan. Jack was planning to leave her and the children with nothing. Run away with Laura, taking all the property, money, and hopes for the future. She quickly looked through the other files, bank statements, bills, contracts. Everything indicated he was preparing to disappear. His plans included everything, from selling the mansion to transferring funds to offshore accounts. He even prepared plane tickets which lay in the folder. Everything was already organized. Marilyn felt her insides tighten from pain and betrayal. She looked at the screen, tears welling up in her eyes. How could he betray them like this? How could he leave them in a world full of lies and danger? Rage and despair boiled inside her. All their life together flashed before her eyes. Their meeting, happy weekends with the children. Why did he betray her so easily? What drove him to take such a step? Many years ago, Jack was an ordinary man. He grew up in a small town where everything was simpler and clearer. His family lived modestly. His father worked at a local factory. His mother was a schoolteacher. Since childhood, he dreamed of a big future, of wealth and power. The fire of ambition always burned in his eyes, and he was sure he could achieve everything he wanted. In his youth, Jack was active and goal-oriented. He participated in all school events, showed initiative, and dreamed of his own business. Even then, he understood, to succeed, you need to be persistent and not afraid to take risks. He often remembered helping his father at the factory, observing the workers and learning their diligence. After graduating from school, he entered university studying economics. There, he quickly established himself as a talented student, showing initiative and leadership qualities. Even as a student, he started earning his first money, doing small deals and investing in real estate. His ambitions grew, and he dreamed of his own business that would bring him recognition and wealth. But the path to success was more difficult than he expected. In the early 2000s, Jack decided to invest all his savings in a promising project, building luxury residential complexes. He was sure this was his ticket to wealth. However, as often happens, things went wrong. Delays, bureaucratic hurdles, competitors began to interfere with his plans. Despite the difficulties, Jack did not give up. He searched for new ways to achieve his dream. At one point, he learned about a major financial opportunity, a high-profit project. He decided to invest all his savings and take out a loan secured by future earnings. Everything was going well, until his business partner appeared, proposing to combine efforts to increase profits. This partner was a man with a dark past connected to criminal activity. He offered Jack a risky scheme, using false documents, evading taxes, and laundering money through chains of companies. At first, everything seemed harmless, just a way to accelerate business growth. Jack, ambitious and eager for success, agreed, thinking he could control the situation. Over time, the situation grew more complicated. The partner began demanding more money and control over the affairs. He started manipulating Jack, blackmailing and threatening him. At one point, he proposed a major real estate scam, promising huge profits. Jack agreed. It was a chance to get rich quickly. But everything went wrong. The partner betrayed him, stealing part of the funds and leaving Jack with debts and a threatened reputation. This blow became a personal tragedy. He felt betrayed and lonely. His dreams of wealth and power seemed shattered, and his faith in his own strength was undermined. Disappointed and devastated, Jack began seeking new ways to restore his position. With this goal, he came to a small office in the city centre where he first saw Marilyn. Her entire family worked in that office, herself, her mother, and her father. Marilyn was sitting at the desk, carefully reviewing papers, when a young man with a confident gait and slightly nervous expression entered. He introduced himself as Jack, an entrepreneur seeking support. His eyes immediately caught her attention. There was something sincere in them, something that spoke of a strong desire to succeed. "Good afternoon," he began, smiling. "I've heard you have a good reputation. I need advice and possibly help." Marilyn listened carefully as he talked about his plans, about his dream to build something of his own, about the difficulties he faced. Her heart immediately warmed to this ambitious young man who believed so sincerely in his ideas. Soon it turned out he had serious problems. He was on the verge of despair, and his hope for help seemed almost hopeless. Without hesitation, Marilyn decided to help. She offered him her knowledge, resources, and connections. Over the next few days, she worked with him, helping prepare documents, find new sources of funding, and negotiate with partners. She invested not only her money, but also her soul, because she believed in his dream. Thanks to her efforts, Jack was able to build his business. He received new investments and negotiated favorable terms. At that moment, he realized he had found not only a business partner, but also someone he could trust. When everything was settled, he invited Marilyn for a walk in the park. There, under the rustling of trees and the soft glow of the sunset, he first confessed to her, "You are the only person who believed in me when everything seemed lost. I don't know what I would do without you." Marilyn smiled, her eyes shining with happiness and warmth. "I believe in you, Jack, and I know you can achieve everything if you are honest and strong." That was their first step together, the beginning of a long story that would later turn into love, support, and, unfortunately, betrayal. But at the moment when their paths first crossed, both felt they had found in each other a support that would help them through any trials. But now all of that seemed like a distant dream. He had become a person willing to do anything for power and money, even if it meant betraying his family and destroying everything dear to him. Marilyn was reviewing the papers, trying to understand how deep his secret was. The entire room was filled with the smell of old documents, dust, and the faint aroma of coffee left on the table. She carefully turned the pages when suddenly she heard a noise. Quiet, quick footsteps outside the door. Her heart beat faster. Inside, everything clenched. She realized someone was about to enter. In panic, she quickly hid under the table, pressed to the floor, trying not to move. Her gaze darted to the door and she held her breath. The door opened and a young woman with a cold look, dressed elegantly, entered the room. She closed the door behind her and, ignoring the silence, approached the desk. She had a mobile phone in her hand and began speaking in a quiet but confident voice. "Yes, everything is going according to plan. Jack trusts me completely," she said with a smile as she spoke, her voice like a whisper, filled with cunning and coldness. "He thinks I love him. What a fool." Marilyn realized it was Laura. Sitting under the table, she listened, holding her breath, understanding that what she heard was a carefully thought-out plan. The woman was talking about how she was planning to leave the country with Jack, leave him there completely alone, and ensure her safe escape. Her voice conveyed confidence that everything was already prepared and that Jack fully trusted her. "There, abroad, I will leave him alone," she continued. "He doesn't even suspect that I have people who will help me disappear without a trace." Marilyn felt her insides tighten. All her struggle, all her efforts seemed insignificant compared to this plan. She heard how the young woman continued talking on the phone, confident that everything was going according to her clever scenario. Inside, feelings raged, anger, pain, fear for the children and her future. She understood she had to act quickly to stop this deception. When the conversation ended, she, smiling, left the room. Marilyn, still hiding under the table, felt her inside fill with determination. Marilyn got out of her hiding place, quickly grabbed her phone and dialed Michael, her lawyer. "Michael, I've found everything. He's planning to run away tomorrow morning. He has tickets, money, documents. He's prepared to leave," she whispered, trying not to make noise. "But that's not all. Laura has a plan to deceive him and leave him alone. She's thought everything through, but I'm no longer interested in that. His future life will punish him for betraying us." "You need to think everything through," Michael replied. "Do you have proof? Then act quickly." Marilyn closed her laptop and felt her heart pounding wildly. At that moment she realized betrayal had already happened. Jack was about to leave them in poverty, and she had to act immediately to save everything that remained. The next day, Marilyn continued gathering information. She had money, connections, and experience. She knew she had to act quietly, carefully, so he wouldn't realize she knew. Weeks passed. Marilyn worked at night, studying documents, collecting evidence. She consulted with experts. Inside her, her resolve grew. She wouldn't let betrayal ruin her life. She prepared everything: documents, certificates, and evidence of his plans. She knew she had to do everything correctly to leave him no chance to go unpunished. Inside her, feelings were raging: pain, anger, fear for her children. Every emotion seemed to fight for a place in her heart, intertwined in chaos she couldn't control. Deep down, she felt herself tearing apart from the pain because Jack's betrayal was a blow to everything she had built over many years. And Laura, tears welled up in her eyes. But she held them back because she knew she had to be strong now, for her children, for a future that could still be saved. Marilyn finally decided to tell her eldest daughter, Emily, everything. Although she already understood it all herself, but she didn't know how far things had gone. Her eyes, bright, full of surprise and shock, looked at her mother as if she had seen something incredible. At 22, Emily was already an adult, a smart girl who had trusted her father, considering him a model of strength and honesty. But now her face was pale, her lips slightly trembling, and her eyes showed a mixture of fear and bewilderment. She couldn't believe that their father, the man she had always relied on, was capable of such betrayal. Inside, everything clenched, and she felt her heart beating faster, as if trying to burst out of her chest. Her gaze reflected not only pain, but also confusion and a desire to understand how everything could change so drastically in one day. Her younger son, Alex, only 16, was still too young to fully grasp all the complexities of the situation. He was a quiet, shy boy with red curls and big eyes, full of curiosity and anxiety. He felt that something was wrong, that there was some tension in the house, and it scared him. He couldn't explain in words what exactly was happening, but he sensed that his world had turned upside down. Inside, everything clenched, and he was afraid that everything he knew about his family was disappearing. He looked at his mother, trying to understand what to do, feeling how inside everything filled with anxiety and uncertainty. Emily, noticing her younger brother, approached him, took his hand, and quietly said, "Everything will be fine, Alex. We're together. We'll get through this." But in her heart, there was still a shadow of doubt and fear. She felt that their life would never be the same again, and that a long road to rebuild trust and peace lay ahead. Marilyn, watching them, felt how everything inside her was boiling. She understood that her fight was not only for property, but also for her children's safety. She was afraid that Jack, knowing she knew, might go to extreme measures. One night, while she was working on documents, her phone suddenly rang with a sharp, piercing sound. In the dark, trembling, Marilyn slowly picked up the receiver, feeling her heart pounding wildly in her chest. In the silence, a cold, emotionless voice spoke. "You know too much. It's better for you to stop. Otherwise, you'll regret it." The voice sounded as if it was nearby, in the room, and carried a threat that could become a reality. Marilyn felt her blood drain from her face, and her heart beat faster, as if trying to break free from her chest. All the threats, letters, strange observations flashed through her mind. It was not just words, but a signal that danger was near, that she was being watched, and that everything could spiral out of control at any moment. She closed her eyes, trying to gather her thoughts, while feeling everything inside tighten with fear for her children. What if one of them gets hurt? What if the threats become real? Images flashed in her mind, dark silhouettes by the window, rustling behind the door, shadows flickering in the night. Everything inside filled with anxiety and the feeling that she was being followed, that danger was already close, and that it was real and approaching. But the threats didn't end there. One day, when clouds hung over the city like a heavy blanket, and the wind drove grey clouds across the streets, Marilyn left her house. Inside, everything boiled. Anxiety, determination, fatigue. In recent days, she felt that she was being followed, that someone was trying to scare her, stop her. Every minute seemed dangerous, as if she was walking on thin ice that could crack at any moment. When she approached her car, her eyes immediately fell on a small piece of paper lying on the hood. At first, she thought it was an accident, that someone had forgotten it there. But when she bent down and picked up the sheet, her heart skipped a beat. It was a short but clear message. "Stop. Don't continue the investigation. Otherwise, you'll regret it." Written in black. Carefully handwritten letters, as if someone had deliberately tried to make it look like a threat. Everything was done to evoke fear and anxiety. Marilyn froze, feeling everything inside tighten. Her gaze darted along the empty street. No one in sight, only the wind rustling leaves, blowing trash and scraps of paper across the asphalt. She understood this was not just a random message, but a clear warning. But she didn't give up. Inside, a spark ignited. It told her, "You must go further. Don't let them break you." She carefully folded the sheet and hid it in her pocket, clenched her fists, and sat back into the car with renewed determination. Trembling hands turned the ignition key, and the engine roared to life, as if confirming her resolve. At that moment, she felt that despite all threats and dangers, she was still stronger, and a thought arose in her mind. I must do something, immediately. Despite the drama of recent events, life continued its course. Inside the house, the usual hustle reigned. The clatter of dishes, the quiet hum of the TV. Time seemed to slow down, but Marilyn's feelings still raged inside. Anxiety, anger, fear for her children. Every morning she woke up with the feeling that she was being watched, that someone was observing her every move. Everything inside was tense, but she knew she had to hold on, keep fighting. The day of Jack's anniversary arrived, a grand event at the mansion with many guests. The mansion, which had once been a symbol of luxury and stability, was already in the final stages of preparation. Inside there was hustle, decorators hanging garlands, waiters checking the table settings, and the aroma of fresh baked goods and expensive champagne filled the air. Guests, business partners, friends, relatives, neighbours gathered in the hall to congratulate Jack on this important occasion. Despite the internal storm, Marilyn tried to keep her composure. Her eyes showed fatigue, but also determination. She knew this day was not only a celebration, but also a chance to show that the truth would eventually come out. Deep down, she felt that despite threats and dangers, she was stronger. and her fight was only beginning. When the clock struck noon, music started playing in the mansion, and guests began gathering in the hall. Marilyn passed by a mirror, adjusted her dress, trying to hide her anxiety. Feelings still raged inside her, but she knew today was the day everything had to change. And even if secrets hid behind the walls of this house, she wouldn't let them destroy her life. When everything was ready, Marilyn stepped out before the guests. She took the microphone, and silence fell in the hall. All eyes were on her. "Jack," she began, "I know everything. Your plans, your betrayal. You wanted to leave me with nothing." Her voice trembled, but she held her ground. "You were going to run away with your young mistress, leaving me without a home, without money, without everything we built together." Silence fell in the hall. Jack turned pale, his face showing shock and anger. He tried to say something, but the words got stuck in his throat. Marilyn continued, her voice now firmer. "I won't allow myself to be used and betrayed. Today, I take back what's mine, the house, the yacht, the plane, everything that rightfully belongs to me. And let this story be a lesson for everyone. Justice has prevailed." She revealed the documents, evidence, and testimonies. A whisper spread through the hall as people began to understand what was happening. Jack tried to justify himself, but his words sounded ridiculous. He was in complete rage, his eyes darted around the room, trying to find an escape, but everything was already decided. Marilyn slowly left the hall, feeling inside a mixture of relief and anxiety. In the corridor, illuminated by the soft light of chandeliers, she stopped to catch her breath. At that moment, Michael, her lawyer, a person she had trusted from the very beginning, appeared from the shadows. He was walking quickly, holding a small folder which he carefully handed to her. "Marilyn," he said quietly, "I have something that could change everything. These are documents confirming that Jack bought property abroad long ago, secretly from you. He prepared everything in advance to disappear with the money and leave you in the dark." Marilyn took the folder, her hands trembling. Inside was a thick packet of papers, stamps, notarial acts, and contracts. She felt her heart tighten as she began to review the first pages. There were certificates of property acquisition, bank statements, agreements for villas and apartments in Europe and the Caribbean. Everything was registered under fake names, through chains of offshore companies created specifically for this purpose. "He's been planning this for a long time," Michael continued, "and everything was prepared so that you wouldn't notice. He was going to leave, taking everything, the money, the property, and you. Everything was already bought, registered, and he even prepared documents for the transfer of ownership." Marilyn, without taking her eyes off the papers, felt everything inside her tighten. Her eyes reflected a mixture of shock, anger, and pain. She understood that her husband, whom she loved so much, was not the person he seemed to be. He had long been building a new life behind her back, and all of this was hidden behind the facade of a successful businessman. "This is all his secret property," she whispered, "and he was planning to disappear, taking everything we had. He wanted to leave me and the children with nothing." Michael nodded softly, his face serious and full of compassion. "You need to know the truth." Marilyn closed her eyes, feeling a storm raging inside her. "Thank you, Michael," she said quietly. She took the folder, clutching it tightly, and walked on, feeling that now everything depended only on her. The next morning, the entire press exploded with a sensation. News of Marilyn's revelations spread instantly across the city and beyond. Headlines shouted about Jack's ties to criminal organizations, his secret accounts abroad, and plans to run away with the family's huge fortune and his mistress, Laura. The whole country discussed the scandal. Some sympathized with the woman, others condemned, and some simply couldn't believe that their respected businessman was at the center of such a story. In the mansion, which had once been a symbol of luxury and stability, chaos broke out. Guests, friends, neighbors, everyone tried to understand what was happening, who was to blame, and what would happen next. Jack was arrested on charges of fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. His face, usually calm and confident, was now distorted with anger and confusion. Soon it was revealed that Laura had disappeared without a trace, taking large sums of money and documents about accounts and offshore schemes she had managed to prepare. Their carefully concealed financial game collapsed within hours. Marilyn felt relief. Finally, the truth was out and her efforts had not been in vain. But inside, wounds remained, from betrayal, from the pain of lost trust in her children, and from shattered illusions. Emotions still raged in her heart: anger, pain, fear for the future, for her children's safety. But along with that, a new strength was born in her. She realized that these trials had made her stronger, that she was capable of fighting for her family to the very end, no matter what. Conflicting feelings still boiled inside her: bitterness from betrayal, rage that she was so easily deceived, and at the same time, determination not to break. She understood that she had gone through fire and water, and now she had a chance to start everything anew, to build her life on honesty and love. At that moment, she realized, despite all the hardships, she was a strong woman who could protect her children and preserve her honor. Several years had passed since Marilyn took a decisive step. She freed herself from the shadow of the past and started a new life. Now her face radiated calm and confidence. In a cozy office filled with light and fresh flowers, she sat at her desk reviewing documents. On the wall hung diplomas and letters of appreciation, her professional achievements over the past year. She smiled, looking at them. During this time, she built a successful legal practice, helping people in difficult situations. Her reputation grew, and clients appreciated her sincere care and decisiveness. In her eyes was pride in having overcome everything and achieved success. At that moment, Michael, her longtime friend and lawyer, with whom she had been through a lot, entered the room. He smiled upon seeing her and approached to shake her hand. "Marilyn, you are simply incredible," he said, smiling. "A year ago you were on the brink, and now one of the most respected lawyers in the city." She shyly smiled and replied, "Thank you, Michael. All of this is thanks to you. You always believed in me and supported me. Without your help, I wouldn't have managed." Michael sat opposite her, and their conversation turned into a warm chat. They discussed cases, plans for the future, and new projects. The time spent together filled them both with a sense of friendship and trust that only grew stronger. "You know," Marilyn said, "I finally feel like I can trust myself and my strength. I found my place, and now I know everything is possible if you believe in yourself." Michael smiled and added, "You are an example for many, and I am proud to have been by your side. You proved that even after betrayal and pain, you can build a new life, strong and happy." Marilyn took his hand, and a light shone in her eyes. Inside, feelings of gratitude and hope raged. She knew that ahead were new heights, new opportunities, and most importantly, peace and harmony within herself. Outside, the sun slowly set, colouring the sky in warm hues. Marilyn looked out of her office window and thought about the future. "I have gone through fire, and now I am free." This story highlights how betrayal and deception can lurk behind the facade of wealth and success. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and that true strength lies in honesty, resilience, and the courage to face the truth. Marilyn's journey shows that even in the darkest moments, inner strength and determination can lead to justice and a new beginning. If you found this story intriguing, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment sharing what you would do if you were in Marilyn's place, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stories like this.